Welcome, trainers. Trainer Michael here, and today I am going to teach you which Pokemon are worth powering up and which Pokemon will be a waste of your Stardust. First, let me explain some of my reasoning and how I came to these conclusions. I started with a list of all first generation Pokemon. I removed every Pokemon that was not a final evolution of that line. Then I found every type weakness for these final evolutions. I added up all these type weaknesses, giving more weight to type weaknesses on Pokemon with higher CP. For example, Rhydon and Onix have the same weaknesses, but Rhydon's weaknesses I weighted higher since Rhydon has a max CP of 3300, while Onix has a much lower CP at 1002. I did this since it would be more likely that trainers would find Pokemon with higher CPs in gyms, just to have a better chance of that Pokemon staying at the top of the gym and hopefully staying in the gym ladder longer if another opponent attacked it. Once I add up all the numbers, I picked the strongest Pokemon of each of these types, so I narrowed it down to each type weakness, and then I picked what I thought was the best Pokemon in that type that would give the most strength and have the best super effectiveness, and usually having the highest CP in that line. This method does not benefit max prestige gains from gym battles. This method tries to get one Pokemon of each type as high as it possibly can. This way, you will always be able to beat every Pokemon you come across in a gym. You may not be able to beat multiples of that same Pokemon, but at least you can always have one Pokemon with the highest CP. So, without further ado, here's my list. Electric came in first, so I chose Jolteon with Thunder Shock and Thunder. Grass was next, tied with Rock. For Grass, I went with Venusaur, Vine Whip, Solar Beam, but if that's too hard since Venusaur is a starter, Vileplume or Victory Bell with Razor Leaf, Solar Beam is perfectly fine. For Rock, Golem was the highest choice with Rock Throw, Stone Edge. And then our next group tied for third was Ice and Ground. Ice, I went with Lapras, Frost Breath, and Blizzard. For Ground, Rhydon with Mudslap and Earthquake is next. Fourth was Psychic, Alakazam. It has low HP stamina, but it still puts out a high DPS, so still fairly good. Psycho Cut and Psychic. Fighting, I went with Machamp with Karate Chop and Cross Chop. Then we are tied Water and Flying. I went Vaporeon with Water Gun Hydro Pump. And Flying, I went with Pidgeot, Wing Attack Hurricane. Charizard with just Wing Attack first can be very useful, but I went with double Flying just for make it easier. And Pidgeys are so easy to come by, you shouldn't have a problem getting a Pidgeot in comparison to a starter. The last two on my list are Fire. I went with Flareon, Ember, Fire Blast, and Bug. I went with Pinsir, Fury Cutter, and X Scissor. I cut off the bottom of the list. There's really no point in having Fairy and some of the other worthless Pokemon types that just aren't going to come up too much. I would like to also add that this list did not have any weight given to max CP. Pokemon could have. I know Vaporeon has one of the highest CPs in the game, but this was just going towards tight matchups and having a super effective damage. I did not give more weight to Pokemon with better stats. I instead just focused on type strength. This is why Electric stayed at the top of the list, even though all electric Pokemon have very low defense and stamina. I did not change this list to account for bad type matchups. For example, even though Grass does super effective damage to Lapras, Lapras, having mostly ice moves, would do super effective damage back to the Grass Pokemon. Finally, I did not change this list to account for multiple Pokemon of the same type or even multiples of the same Pokemon in a gym. You would need to decide if there is another Pokemon you want to spend your Stardust, since the gym meta is different in every area. But generally, there's a lot of Vaporeons in gyms, so having Electric and Grass at the very top of the list wasn't too big of a deal.